Hello, this is Michael from League of Items, and in this video, I'm going to give you my conclusions in the beginning, and if you'd like to see how I reached those conclusions, just watch until the end of the video. In my last video, one of the main questions I was exploring involved Madness and Oblivion Orb. After doing some research, it became clear that magic resistance played a huge role in determining which one was better and at which point in the game. In terms of damage, Oblivion Orb will generally outperform Madness until targets reach 80 MR. This happens because Madness takes time in combat to ramp up. Once your team fights consistently take over 2 seconds and the enemy team begins to build magic resistance, then Madness is better. At 79 magic resistance, Voidstaff breaks even with Sorc Shoes and Oblivion Orb, which is equal to 33 magic pen, and this is relevant because they both cost around 2600 gold. At level 18, your target will most likely have 83 to 133 magic resistance because they've probably finished one magic resist item. However, if the players in your games don't adjust their builds, go with flat magic pen. Hello, this is Michael from League of Items, and today I want to continue talking about magic pen and magic resist. And I was kind of surprised by some of the conclusions that I've come to in terms of Oblivion Orb, Haunting Guys, Leandry's Torment, Sorc Shoes, and Voidstaff, and all these different kinds of items that relate to magic resistant magic pen. And what I did was I looked at the different values for magic resistance, and I saw how much the difference between no magic pen and Oblivion Orb did with 15 magic pen, and I took that as the baseline that I compared Madness to. So in this column, I have time in combat, and this shows the different values of magic resist, and this column right here is the differential in terms of percentage between no magic pen and Oblivion Orb. So what I did is, since every champion has over 30 magic resistance at level 1, this is where I started. And this means that Madness is going to equal the 15 magic pen when you're in combat for 5 seconds, meaning you get 10%, and that's the maximum you can get from Madness. So in a best case scenario, you're going to be in an extended team fight, and you're going to be getting as much damage from Madness as you would from the damage amplification provided by Magic Pen. And as you can see, as the values get higher and higher, the break-even point is never reached. You go all the way from the 5 seconds you need to be in combat to 1 second. So at 0 seconds before the fight starts, Magic Pen is always going to be better, but after 1 second in combat, you will begin to perform better with Madness once the target reaches 132 magic resistance after 1 second in combat. And then over here we have the 2 second range and a couple of the numbers that I found out for magic resistance. I'm just going to throw that on the screen. 30 magic resistance. All champions have 30 or more MR at level 1. Some have 32 and Talon has 39. All champions at level 18 have 38 or more. Some have 53. Some have 60. So like tanks and stuff like that will be closer to 53 for the most part. The 15 flat magic pen from Oblivion Orb will amplify your damage by 13% when the target has 30 MR. And we see that right here. By up to 13%, okay? To a minimum of 2% when your target has over 153. So 153, this is the 2% that we're talking about. The differential between 15 magic pen and no magic pen. The 18 flat magic pen from Sorc Shoes is better than Oblivion Orb in every scenario. It costs less gold. You're not getting the ability power or the health, but you have to upgrade your boots for the extra bonus movement speed, and it's an item that you're going to finish on most AP mid laners anyways. So you need to figure out whether or not stacking them is worth it, and I have that in one of my columns as well. At 79 magic resistance, Voidstaff breaks even with Sorc Shoes and Oblivion Orb, or 33 magic pen. So the reason I did this is because Sorc Shoes plus Oblivion Orb is equal to 33 magic pen and costs 2600 gold, whereas Voidstaff costs 2650 gold. And in order for Voidstaff to become gold efficient, the target needs to have 90 magic resistance. And a lot of champions will never reach that point. The target will not have 90 magic resistance. At level 18, most targets will have between 83 to 133. So that means there's a point where Voidstaff breaks even with Magic Pen, but is still not gold efficient. So it's an interesting thing to consider because the cost is not simply evaluated in terms of Magic Pen and Void Staff. So then I have some other numbers about tanks. Tanks will probably go with one tank item and Merc Treads, which is roughly 118 to 133 magic resistance, including their base stats. And this is going to cost them around 4,000 gold. So this is the spot highlighted in green. This is without taking into consideration different abilities and passives and stuff like that that tanks have. And this shows that after 2 seconds in combat, Madness will deal more damage than the flat magic pen from Oblivion Orb. And this is an important range, the 133 to 118, because this is generally the most magic resistance you're going to see in a game. And I have a bunch of different columns here. So we have Oblivion Orb, Sorc Shoes, Void Staff. This column, L, is Sorc Shoes plus Oblivion Orb. Then we have Void Staff plus Sorc Shoes, because I think that's usually going to be a better option, because once you reach this point and the extra magic pen becomes necessary, you might as well just buy a Void Staff. One of the problems with Oblivion Orb is that it builds into Morellonomicon, and in a lot of games, the Grievous Wounds isn't going to be worth it. So there is a world where you can build the Oblivion Orb just for the 15 magic pen in lane and then build another item, but you're delaying your first item a considerable amount, which is not always good. I think overall it's probably a losing play unless you can get a couple of kills because of the magic pen, or if you're in a game where there's a lot of tanks and you don't want to invest into a Void Staff yet. But overall, I think your first source of magic pen should probably be Sorc Shoes. So then we have 80 carries. We'll go with Maw. For the most part, that's the only magic resist item they're going to build is a Maw of Malmortius or a Mercurial Scimitar. Maw gives 45 magic resistance. Mercurial Scimitar gives 35. So for this column, I just did the base MR that most champions have, which is between 38 to 53, and I added the 45 from Maw. So then 83 to 98. So we can take a look at that range. 83 to 98. Most of the time, Madness is going to outperform Magic Pen after it's been in combat for 2 seconds. Or it's going to break even at 2 seconds, and then after that point, it's going to be better. Then we have supports and AP mid laners with Banshees. When a support builds a Locket or when an AP mid laner builds a Banshees, they both get 60 magic resistance. So now it's 98 to 113. So we can take a look at that as well. 98 to 113. Again, this is the 2 second range. And then the range that I'm most interested in is from 83 to 133, because this is really the peak of magic resistance you're going to experience in your game unless it goes to super late game. And the other distinction I want to make is that it's in theory, or at least my opinion, what I'm assuming is that most games in solo queue are decided before the 20-minute mark, before the 25-minute mark. Most games, there's a considerable gold lead at that point, and when I say considerable gold lead, I mean over 2,000 gold, which it might not sound like a lot, but I'm pretty sure most games, once a 2,000 gold threshold is reached, that team is like very likely to win the game as long as they don't have a massive throw. So it really depends on what kind of game you're trying to use this information for. In solo queue, flat magic pen, I think, is a better investment than it is in a ranked team environment, unless your team is planning on winning early or trying to snowball, because having to sink money into an Oblivion Orb is going to cause one of your item spikes to be weaker unless you desperately need Grievous Wounds. So let's just move forward. Essentially, at level 18, your target's probably going to have between 83 and 133 MR, as long as they've included one magic resist item in their build. Tanks are going to, a lot of the time, get Merc Treads plus a magic resistance item. In this scenario, Madness will outdamage the magic pen in about 2 seconds. After 2 seconds in combat, Sorc Shoes are just straight up a better source of magic pen than Oblivion Orb, because it's cheaper and you devote less of your build to it. You're just upgrading your boots, so you're going to do that anyways for the bonus movement speed, and this way you get the magic pen. So a one item spike, for example, Liandry's plus Sorc Shoes is a very good spike. If you really want magic pen, the Sorc Shoes and Oblivion Orb combination will perform better than Void Staff until the target has 79 magic resistance. And this is going to be up until the 25-minute mark for the most part, I think. I think some tanks can build a tank item early as their first item or something like that. But unless they're the kind of player who actually thinks about their build, they're most likely not going to build effectively against magic resistance. They're going to follow their core build as usual and not adapt to the game. With that being said, I think Adaptive Helm is one of the best items in the game right now because I expect Liandry's to become a very popular item, and Adaptive Helm does a good job at mitigating the damage from that item. The difference between 1% from 73 MR through 90 MR. So you're not going to see a huge difference between Sorc Shoes and Oblivion Orb compared to Void Staff until you get past the 90 magic resistance point. This means that there's a range where Void Staff outvalues Sorc Shoes and Oblivion Orb, but still isn't gold efficient. And that's an interesting design choice by Riot. I think it's probably intentional. I'm not sure why. Once you get to the tank range of 118 magic resistance, Void Staff does 5% more damage than Sorc Shoes and Oblivion Orb, so this is an important threshold to reach in your games. Once the tanks get really big, Void Staff becomes more and more important. Once you get into the MR range for level 18 champions, which is 83 to 133, Void Staff will double or triple the percentage difference from Sorc Shoes. So that means Void Staff versus Sorc Boots. So this is the differential between Sorc Shoes and no Magic Pen. This is between Void Staff and no Magic Pen. So if that's what your barometer is that if that's your measuring stick, then Void Staff is twice as efficient. Or twice as effective, not efficient. Once you get into the MR range for level 18 champions, Void Staff will double or triple the percent difference from Sorc Shoes, and combined, they will increase your damage output by about 20%. If you want to go all in on Magic Pen with Sorc Shoes, Oblivion Orb, and Void Staff, you will need to spend at least 5,250 gold. This is, if you look at this column right here, you can see that by going this build, you will be doing true damage up until the 55 magic resist point. I don't think it's practical to do this for this reason here, but if you look at how significantly your damage output is expected to drop depending on magic resist level, you can do a lot worse. I mean, you could stay above the 70% threshold, which is going to protect you for a lot of the game. It's going to protect your damage. A theoretical build combining Liandry's Torment, a mana item such as Archangel Staff, Void Staff, and Sorc Shoes would cost about 10.1k gold, and it's not likely that you're going to hit that point until the 30-minute mark unless there's a huge number of kills in your game. And this is also the time when champions will begin to hit level 18. So once you expect champions to start hitting level 18, that's when they're going to jump into this range of magic resist, most likely. And that means that every champion could be level 18 with one magic resist item. So that's why these numbers are so important. And these are the numbers that I'm focusing on. So I think overall, the important takeaways from this should be that Oblivion Orb is just straight up better than Madness in the early portion of the game. If we take a look at this, these are items that provide magic resistance, and I use that as a baseline just to get some comparison numbers between Haunting Guise and Oblivion Orb. And if you look at the differential in terms of damage, so for this column, your best case scenario is that you're going to be in a fight for over 5 seconds, and that's when you're going to break even. But most of the time, you're not going to break even in the laning phase. You really need team fights for Madness to start outvaluing the flat Magic Pen. So, I mean, I guess that means I was wrong. My initial reaction to Oblivion Orb versus Haunting Guise was that Madness is going to outvalue flat Magic Pen. And in some ways I was right, and in some ways I was wrong. I had the idea that In the beginning part of the team fight, yes, the flat magic pen would be better, but I expected Madness to outscale it sooner than it does. And I'm not sure if the likelihood that you're going to build Sork Shoes outweighs the negatives of building Leandries first, but I still think Leandries is one of the best items in the game because of how it interacts with a lot of champions' builds or their kits and their potential build. So, for example, one champion that's really strong right now is Malzahar. He was already relatively strong. His playstyle is relatively easy. He has an easy ultimate. You just point and click. All you have to do in laning phase is continuously clear minions until you hit level 6. Then once you hit level 6, try to get a jungler to come. And it's an easy way to get kills and put pressure on the map. He's one champion that I would look out for. I think Leandries is going to be very important in this meta, which means that Adaptive Helm is also going to be important. So those are my findings with Magic Resistance and Magic Pen. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you incorporate this into some of your builds. You should definitely try Leandries with Sork Shoes. It's a huge power spike. And thanks for watching. If you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe.